Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The hum of the Garanox's engine softened as the ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing with precision in a secluded meadow surrounded by dense forests. The door opened with a hiss, and a ramp descended to touch the Earth. Vieira, the imposing leader of the Lyrionian warriors, stepped out first, her silver armor catching the light of the setting sun. Is this the best Earth has to offer? Fields and trees? Vieira scoffed as she surveyed her surroundings. Her second-in-command, Kyra, laughed and joined her at the front of the ramp. Just wait till they see what we can do. They'll wish they had better than this to impress us with, Kyra replied, her eyes scanning the horizon. From a distance, Jake, a local farmer and amateur astronomer, noticed the unusual metallic object nestled in his usual stargazing spot. Curiosity piqued, he decided to approach. Clad in simple jeans and a flannel shirt, he walked towards the ship, his approach unnoticed by the alien visitors. As he neared, Vieira turned sharply, her hand on her weapon. "Identify yourself," she demanded, her voice echoing slightly against the metal hull of the ship. "Whoa, easy there." Jake raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. "Name's Jake. I come here to look at the stars, not to start trouble." "What brings you to my corner of the cosmos?" Vieira relaxed her stance slightly, but remained alert. "We are surveyors from Lyrian. We assess planets for their resources and potential alliances. Earth is under consideration." "Under consideration, huh? Well, let me show you around then. Maybe Earth will surprise you," Jake said with a grin, gesturing broadly to the landscape around them. Kyra exchanged a look with Vieira, who nodded slightly. "Lead the way, Earthling," Vieira commanded, her tone imperious but tinged with curiosity. Jake led them through the meadow, pointing out various native plants and explaining their uses. "Over there," he said, pointing to a cluster of trees, "are apple trees. Ever tried an apple?" "Never heard of it," Kyra replied, intrigued. "Wait here a sec," Jake said as he jogged over to an apple tree. He returned with a few ripe apples, handing one to each alien warrior. As Vieira bit into the apple, her eyes widened in surprise. "This is refreshing," she admitted, her usual stern facade slipping. "Yeah, Earth's got a lot to offer if you know where to look," Jake said proudly. "Not just resources, but experiences. We're about more than what can be quantified." Kyra, still munching on her apple, seemed thoughtful. "This apple, simple yet effective. Perhaps Earth holds more value than we anticipated." Vieira looked at Jake, reassessing him. "Earthling Jake, you shall be our guide while we are here. Show us what your planet has to offer beyond apples." Jake chuckled. "Deal. But you gotta promise to keep an open mind. There's a lot more to Earth than meets the eye." As the trio walked back towards the town with the setting sun coloring the sky in brilliant hues, a silent agreement formed among them. This would be more than just a simple survey mission, and for Vieira and her crew, Earth might just be the unexpected adventure they didn't know they needed. The town was small and quaint, the kind of place where everyone knew each other's names. As they approached, the fading sunlight cast long shadows across the brick buildings that lined the main street, each adorned with signs of local businesses. Jake led Vieira and Kyra into the heart of the town, straight to a bustling community center where a local fair was in full swing. The air was filled with the sound of laughter, music, and the sizzling of food from stands. "Welcome to the annual Harvest Festival," Jake announced, spreading his arms wide as if to embrace the whole scene. "It's a celebration of the year's hard work and a chance to unwind." Vieira observed the festivities with a mix of suspicion and fascination. "You celebrate labor?" she queried, her tone indicating that the concept was foreign on Lyrian. "More like we celebrate the fruits of it. It's about community coming together," Jake explained, guiding them through the crowd. "Speaking of which, let me introduce you to some of the folks around here." They stopped at a booth where an elderly man was selling homemade pies. "Hey, Mr. Thompson, got any of your famous apple pies left?" Mr. Thompson looked up, his eyes twinkling. "For you, Jake." "Always." "And who are your friends?" he asked, peering curiously at Vieira and Kyra. "These are my friends from out of town." "Vieira and Kyra," Jake said, giving them a reassuring look. "Ladies, this is Mr. Thompson, the best pie maker this side of the Mississippi. Pleasure to meet you," Mr. Thompson said, handing each of them a slice of apple pie. "Try this, made from apples grown right here in our orchards." As they tasted the pie, Jake continued to introduce Vieira and Kyra to more locals, each sharing something of their craft or produce. Vieira's initial skepticism slowly melted away with each friendly exchange and shared smile. The concept of community, so vividly displayed, was becoming less alien to her. "So, what do you think?" Jake asked as they stepped aside, letting a group of children run past them, laughing and chasing each other. Different. On Lyrian, everything is about efficiency, survival. This, Vieira gestured around, this festivity, it's needless, yet enriching, she admitted, her voice softening. Kyra, too, seemed affected. "There's strength in bonding over trivial pursuits, it seems. It keeps your spirits high." Jake smiled. "Exactly. Sometimes it's these trivial things that hold us together. Makes the hard times easier to bear." Intrigued by their responses, Jake suggested, "Why don't you try something? Join in, do something fun." Kyra raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Ever tried bobbing for apples?" Jake grinned, leading them to a large barrel filled with water and floating apples. As they watched children and adults alike laughing and splashing, Vieira's competitive spirit took over. "We accept your challenge, Earthling," she declared, stepping up to the barrel. Jake laughed, delighted by her change of tone. "That's the spirit. Let's see what you've got, warrior women of Lyrian." The next few minutes were filled with laughter and shouts as Vieira and Kyra plunged their faces into the water, trying to catch apples with their teeth. The locals cheered them on, amused and impressed by the enthusiasm of the unusual visitors. Wiping water from her face, Vieira held up her apple triumphantly. "Victorious!" she exclaimed, a genuine smile breaking across her face for the first time. Kyra, successful too, joined the laughter, looking to Jake. "This planet of yours, it's full of surprises," she conceded. "And we've barely scratched the surface," Jake replied, his eyes twinkling with the promise of more discoveries to come. As the evening wore on, Vieira and Kyra experienced more of Earth's simple joys, each moment weaving them tighter into the fabric of the community. It was a night of firsts, of laughter, and of the unexpected joy found in earthly pleasures. As the night deepened, the festival lights twinkled like stars, casting a warm glow over the bustling fairgrounds. The laughter and music continued to fill the air, creating a lively backdrop to the new experiences unfolding for Vieira and Kyra. Jake led them to a stall where a local craftsman, Dave, was demonstrating pottery making. "Hey, Dave, mind showing my friends here how it's done?" Jake asked as they approached. Dave, a burly man with clay-stained hands, looked up and smiled. "Of course. Always happy to share the craft." He gestured to the spinning wheel. "Ever tried your hand at this?" Vieira and Kyra exchanged a glance, a spark of curiosity in their eyes. "We have similar arts on Lyrian, but this method is unfamiliar," Vieira responded, stepping closer to observe. Dave expertly centered a lump of clay on the wheel and started the wheel spinning. "It's all about balance and gentle touches," he explained, his hands guiding the clay effortlessly. "Here, give it a try." Kyra stepped forward first, tying back her hair. As she placed her hands on the clay, Dave guided her movements, helping her feel the motion and pressure needed. The clay wobbled under her inexperienced touch, but soon she began to get the hang of it, her warrior's precision coming into play. "Like this?" Kyra asked, her concentration intense. "Exactly like that," Dave encouraged. "You're a natural." Vieira watched, then couldn't resist joining in. She took up position at another wheel, and with a bit of guidance, she too found the rhythm of the craft. Jake watched them, his heart light with pride at how they were embracing these earthly experiences. As they finished, each with a respectable if slightly lopsided creation, Vieira looked at Jake, a genuine smile on her face. "This planet, your people have skills that are beautiful in their simplicity." "Thanks, Vieira." "There's beauty in creating something with your own hands," Jake replied, leading them away with their wet clay pieces. Next, they wandered over to a booth where an elderly man was teaching children to make kites. "Care to try?" Jake asked, a playful tone in his voice. Vieira and Kyra nodded, and soon they were deeply involved in crafting kites, following the old man's instructions. They selected bright colors and bold patterns, each kite becoming a canvas reflecting their personalities. As they worked, Jake engaged them in conversation. "It's interesting, isn't it? How something as simple as flying a kite can feel so liberating." "It's the freedom," Kyra mused. "On Lyrian, everything is so regimented. Here, there's a sense of freedom in the air. Infectious." With their kites ready, they joined a group of families on a nearby hill. The night sky was clear, perfect for kite flying. Vieira and Kyra ran alongside the children, their laughter mingling with the wind as their kites soared high. Watching them, Jake felt a deep satisfaction. I never thought I'd see Lyrionian warriors running with kites, he joked as they returned to his side, breathless and exhilarated. Vieira looked at him, her eyes shining with a new light. Neither did I, Jake. This world, your world, it teaches us more than we expected. As the festival drew to a close, the three of them sat on the grass, looking up at the stars. The night had been filled with new experiences and revelations, and as they shared a comfortable silence, it was clear that something significant had shifted in their understanding of Earth and each other. Thank you, Jake, for this night, Vieira said quietly. For showing us that there's more to your world than we could have imagined. Jake smiled, feeling a profound connection to his new friends. There's plenty more to see, and I'm glad to be the one to show it to you. As they stood to leave, the bond that had formed among them was palpable, a testament to the night's shared joys and the surprising depth of cross-cultural connection. After the exhilaration of the festival, Jake suggested a change of pace. How about we wind down a bit? There's a spot up the hill where the view of the stars is unmatched. It's the best place for some quiet and to look at the sky, something I know you're both familiar with. Vieira and Kyra, their curiosity piqued, agreed eagerly. They followed Jake up a gentle slope that led away from the bright lights and noise of the festival. The path was lined with whispering trees that swayed softly in the nighttime breeze, creating a tranquil ambience that contrasted sharply with the evening's earlier festivities. Reaching the top, they found themselves on a wide, flat rock that overlooked the town below. The lights of the festival were distant now, just enough to silhouette the horizon without overpowering the stars that began to peek out from the darkening sky. Here we are, Jake announced, spreading a blanket he had brought along. Have a seat. The show will begin soon. The three of them settled down, the blanket cushioning them from the cool rock. Kyra looked up, her expression thoughtful. It's peaceful here. Different from looking at the stars from a ship. More intimate. It's the atmosphere, Jake explained. Not just the air around us, but the feeling of being connected to something greater, yet very much part of this world. Vieira, lying back, let her eyes adjust to the darkness, watching as more stars appeared. It's beautiful, she murmured. On Lyrian, we often observe the stars to navigate and plan, but not like this, not just for the pleasure of seeing. That's one of the joys of stargazing here on Earth, Jake said. We look up to dream, to wish, and sometimes just to escape the gravity of daily life. They spent the next hour pointing out different constellations, with Jake sharing tales from mythology tied to various star formations. Vieira and Kyra listened, fascinated by the stories that were so different from their own cultural narratives. Do you have myths about the stars? Jake asked, turning to them. Vieira nodded. We do, but they're more historical records than myths. Tales of battles and conquests, alignments that predicted outcomes of conflicts. Here, they're more about heroes and monsters, gods and mortal lovers, Jake said with a laugh. Humans have a knack for turning the sky into a soap opera. Kyra chuckled. I can see the appeal. It makes the cosmos feel more personal, more relatable. As the night deepened, their conversation drifted from stars to personal aspirations and fears. Vieira spoke of her duty to her people and her fears of what failure might mean for her crew. Kyra shared her dreams of exploring beyond the known reaches of their galaxy. What about you, Jake? What dreams do you chase down here on Earth? Vieira asked. Jake's reply was thoughtful. I dream of making a difference, small as it may be. Whether it's through showing someone a new perspective like tonight, or helping out in the community. I guess I want to leave things a little better than I found them. That's a good dream, Kyra said softly. Noble. And what about love? Vieira asked, a slight teasing tone in her voice. Do Earthlings dream of love as we see in your films? Jake laughed. Absolutely. Love is a big part of our dreams. It's as vast and complex as any star in the sky. The conversation turned lighter again, filled with laughter and shared jokes, as they watched shooting stars dart across the sky. It was late when they finally decided to head back, the night having passed in what seemed like moments. As they walked down the hill, the connection between them was palpable, a bond forged under the vast, star-filled sky, filled with new understandings and shared human experiences. Vieira looked over at Jake, a smile playing on her lips. Earth has more to teach us than we thought. Jake nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. And I'm here to teach as long as you're willing to learn. Their laughter echoed softly as they descended back into the lights of the town, carrying with them the memories of a night spent under the stars. The following evening, Jake decided to introduce Vieira and Kyra to another human custom, dating. He chose a cozy, candlelit restaurant in the heart of town, known for its serene atmosphere and excellent cuisine. The low lighting and soft music created an intimate setting, perfect for their introduction to this romantic human experience. As they settled into their seats, Jake explained, dating isn't just about finding a romantic partner. It's about connecting, sharing, and understanding each other on a deeper level. Vieira looked around, taking in the setting. It's very soothing, she commented, observing the other diners engaged in quiet conversation. Kyra seemed puzzled. But why the need for such an elaborate setup? On Lyrian, when we need to discuss important matters, we do so directly. Jake smiled. There's something about this environment that makes it easier to open up, to share more than just words. It's about the ambience, the mood. It sets the stage for honesty and vulnerability. As they ordered their food, Jake continued to explain the nuances of dating. For example, asking about one's favorite food or music isn't just small talk. It's a way to learn about their personality, their heritage, and their preferences. Intrigued, Vieira turned to him. So, Jake, what does your choice of food say about you? She asked, a hint of playfulness in her tone. Jake chuckled. Well, I ordered the steak. That might say I'm traditional, but the spicy sauce I chose could suggest I like a bit of adventure. The conversation flowed naturally from there, with each sharing stories about their cultures. Vieira and Kyra were particularly interested in the concept of romance and emotional connections, which were less emphasized in their own society. After the meal, Jake suggested they try dancing, another human dating ritual. The restaurant had a small dance floor, where a few couples were already swaying to a soft melody. Initially hesitant, Vieira and Kyra soon found themselves guided by Jake's confident steps. As they danced, Jake spoke about the significance of dance in human culture. Dancing can be a form of expression, a way to convey feelings without words. It's about trust and partnership, especially in dances that require close contact. Vieira, moving gracefully to the rhythm, nodded. It's similar to our combat dances on Lyrian, though those are more about coordination and strategy than emotion. Kyra, relaxing into the rhythm, added, I see the appeal. There's a connection that forms when you move in sync with someone. The evening ended with them walking back to their ship, the town quiet except for the gentle night sounds. Vieira seemed thoughtful, reflecting on the evening. Human rituals are intricate. They weave together layers of meaning in simple acts. Jake agreed. It's all about connection. Whether it's through conversation, food, or dance, it's how we understand and relate to each other. As they reached the ship, Kyra thanked Jake for the evening. Your world continues to surprise us, Jake. Your rituals, your emotions, they're complex and beautiful. And there's still so much to show you, Jake responded warmly. Each experience is a thread in the fabric of our relationships. Vieira looked up at the stars, then back at Jake. Then we look forward to more lessons in humanity. With smiles and a sense of closeness that had deepened through the night's shared experiences, they parted ways, Vieira and Kyra with new insights into human culture, and Jake with a renewed appreciation for the nuances of his own world. The evening had deepened, leaving the world bathed in the silver glow of the moon. After their enlightening experience with human dating rituals, Jake had one last surprise for Vieira and Kyra, a visit to the local observatory, a place where the boundaries of space seemed just a touch away. As they approached the large, dome-shaped building perched on a hill overlooking the town, Jake's excitement was palpable. You're going to love this, he assured them, leading the way inside. The observatory was quiet, the usual crowds gone for the night, leaving only the hum of the massive telescope and the soft clicking of computers. The air was cool and smelled faintly of metal and old books. This is Dr. Alan Hart, Jake introduced as they met the observatory's director, a kind-faced man with a gentle smile. He's going to show us some of the universe's wonders that are a bit out of reach, even for your advanced scopes. Dr. Hart extended his hand in greeting. Pleased to meet you both. We've got a clear night, perfect for stargazing. Follow me, please. They ascended a narrow spiral staircase to the main telescope room, where a gigantic telescope pointed toward the heavens. Dr. Hart began adjusting the controls, and the roof slowly retracted, revealing the starlit sky. Tonight, we're particularly lucky, Dr. Hart explained. We have a clear view of Andromeda, our closest galactic neighbor. Would you like to take a look? Kyra nodded eagerly, stepping up to the eyepiece first. The view took her breath away, a swirling mass of stars and cosmic dust, so distant yet rendered in incredible detail through the powerful lens. "It's beautiful," she whispered, stepping back to give Vieira a turn. As Vieira looked through the telescope, Jake watched her face, lit by the soft glow of the control panels. Her usual stoic expression softened into one of awe and wonder. "This is different from viewing through a ship's scope," Vieira commented. "There's a closeness here, a connection to what you're seeing. That's the beauty of observation from the ground," Dr. Hart said. "It connects us to the cosmos in a profound, personal way." They spent the next hour observing various celestial bodies, with Dr. Hart narrating the cosmic dance of galaxies, stars, and planets. The session was both educational and deeply moving, providing a perspective that was new to the Lyrionian visitors. As they descended the stairs back to the main floor, Jake decided to steer the conversation towards more personal territory. "I've shown you parts of my world, the cultural and the cosmic," he started, "but I'm curious about yours. What is it like being a warrior among the stars?" Vieira considered the question for a moment. "It is an honor and a burden. We are trained to be strong, to protect our people, but there are times when I wonder about the life beyond our duties." "And tonight?" Jake asked softly. "Did it make you feel different?" "It did," Vieira admitted, her voice lower. "It made me feel less burdened, more open to experiences outside of my responsibilities." "That's a good start," Jake said, smiling. "Sometimes it's about finding moments like these, peaceful, quiet moments to just be." Kyra, who had been quietly listening, added, "It's a learning curve for us. Being here, with you, it's opened our eyes to different ways of being, different ways of seeing." They reached the exit, and as they stepped outside, Vieira turned to Jake. "Thank you for this night, for sharing your sky with us." "It's my pleasure," Jake replied. "And remember, the night's not over yet. The sky's always changing, and there's always more to see." As they walked back to their ship under the starry sky, there was a sense of closeness and companionship among them that had only deepened through their shared discoveries, both celestial and personal. The night had indeed brought them closer, weaving their different worlds together under the vast shared sky. The gentle breeze of early morning rustled the leaves as Jake, Vieira, and Kyra stood outside the ship, ready for a new adventure. Jake had planned a day in nature, intending to introduce the Lyrionians to Earth's natural beauty and the simple joys it offered. "Today, we're going hiking," Jake announced, gesturing towards the dense forest that bordered the meadow where the Garanox had landed. "There's a trail that leads to a waterfall. It's not just a hike. It's an experience." Vieira looked skeptical, but intrigued. "In what way is walking towards water an experience?" Jake chuckled. "It's about the journey, not just the destination. The sounds, the smells, the sights, it's all part of Earth's charm." As they ventured into the forest, Jake pointed out various plants and explained their uses, both medicinal and culinary. Kyra, always eager to learn, listened intently, occasionally reaching out to touch the leaves or flowers Jake described. The trail wound through towering trees and over small, trickling streams, their waters clear and cold. Vieira, who had started the hike with a warrior's stoic demeanor, gradually began to relax, her senses tuning into the peaceful surroundings. They reached a clearing where the sunlight streamed through the leaves, casting patterns on the forest floor. Jake stopped and took a deep breath. "This is it. Just around that bend up ahead is where the waterfall is." As they approached, the sound of rushing water grew louder, and soon they were standing before a cascading waterfall, its waters sparkling in the sunlight. The sight was breathtaking. "It's beautiful," Vieira admitted, her voice soft with wonder. "I've seen waterfalls before, but not like this, not so alive." "That's the word, alive," Jake agreed. "Everything here is part of a bigger cycle, and it's all connected." They spent some time at the waterfall, Jake explaining the ecosystem and how each element played a role in sustaining the others. Vieira and Kyra were particularly fascinated by the way the water nourished the land. As the afternoon sun began to climb higher, Jake suggested, "Let's have lunch here. I brought something special." He unpacked a picnic basket, revealing an array of Earth foods, sandwiches, fruit, and a few local delicacies. As they ate, the conversation drifted from serious discussions about their planets to lighter topics, like Earth music and Lyrionian songs. After lunch, Jake led them to the edge of the water. "How about a swim?" he suggested. "It's refreshing, and there's nothing like the feeling of water around you." Kyra was the first to agree. quickly followed by Vieira. They changed into swimwear Jake had thoughtfully provided and waded into the cool, clear water. The initial shock of the cold was quickly replaced by exhilaration. Vieira, swimming with graceful, powerful strokes, seemed to embrace the experience with a joy that surprised even her. Kyra laughed and splashed, the sound mingling with the rush of the waterfall. Later, lying on the bank to dry off under the warm sun, Vieira turned to Jake. "Today has been enlightening," she said. "I understand a little more about why you cherish your planet so deeply." "It's these moments," Jake replied, stretching out on the grass. "Simple, yet profound. They define us as much as our achievements in technology or space." As the day faded into evening, they made their way back down the trail, their conversation light and full of laughter. The hike back was less of a march and more of an amble, with stops to admire a cluster of wildflowers or to listen to the call of a distant bird. By the time they reached the Garanox, the stars were beginning to appear in the twilight sky. The day of earthly pleasures had brought them closer, weaving a tapestry of shared experiences that transcended their differences. "Thank you, Jake, for this day," Vieira said as they stood outside the ship, not quite ready to end the day's adventures. "My pleasure," Jake replied. "And thank you both for being open to experiencing a bit of Earth." As they said their goodbyes, the connection between them was palpable, a bond formed not just of curiosity and knowledge, but of shared joy and mutual discovery. The day had indeed been an experience, one that would linger in their memories, cherished and valued. The morning was crisp and clear as Jake arrived at the meadow where the Garanox had landed weeks ago. Today was different, though. Today was a day of goodbyes, or so he thought. Vieira and Kyra were preparing for departure, their ship's engines emitting a soft, preparatory hum. "Seems like just yesterday you arrived, curious about our apple pies and festivals," Jake said, trying to keep his tone light as he approached the ship. Vieira, who was checking some equipment outside the ship, turned to face him, her expression serious but softened with a hint of sadness. "Time passes differently when you're discovering new worlds," she replied. Kyra joined them, a small smile on her face. "We've learned more than we expected, about Earth, about humans, and about ourselves." Jake nodded, his eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. "I hope it's been as good for you as it has been for me. You've both taught me a lot, too." Vieira looked up at her ship, then back at Jake. "We have a proposal for you," she started, hesitancy in her voice. "Our mission is ongoing, and there are more worlds to explore. We would like you to consider joining us as an ambassador of Earth." Jake was taken aback, his surprise evident. "Join you? Out there?" He gestured vaguely upwards, towards the stars. "Yes," Kyra jumped in, her enthusiasm clear. "You've shown us how valuable a different perspective can be. We think you could do the same for others. For other worlds." Jake took a moment, looking from Vieira to Kyra and back to the ship. The offer was unexpected, a chance to see the universe, to continue the adventures and friendships they had begun here. "And what about Earth?" he finally asked. "We would come back," Vieira assured him. "You would not have to leave forever. Think of it as an exchange. Knowledge for knowledge." The offer was tempting, incredibly so. Jake had always dreamed of the stars, and now the stars were inviting him in. He looked around the quiet meadow, the place where this incredible journey had begun, and felt a decisive stir within him. "All right," he said, a smile breaking over his face. "Let's explore the universe together." Vieira and Kyra's faces lit up with smiles, their relief and happiness palpable. "We have much to prepare," Vieira said. "We'll need to set a course, plan our journeys. And you, Jake, you'll need to prepare as well." "I'll need to say some goodbyes, yes," Jake agreed, his mind already racing with the enormity of what he was about to undertake. As they discussed the practicalities, the sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over the meadow. The ship's engines began to quiet down. Their imminent departure paused for this new, unexpected addition to their crew. The chapter of their stay on Earth might have been closing, but a new one was just beginning, a chapter that promised the vastness of space, the thrill of exploration, and the deepening of their extraordinary friendship. As they walked back towards the town to make preparations, Jake felt a surge of excitement. The universe was vast, and it was calling. With Vieira and Kyra by his side, he was ready to answer. Their laughter echoed through the meadow, a sound of joy and anticipation, as they stepped forward into a future filled with unknowns, ready to face them together.